Peace fam, it's your brother Usman, back in the kitchen. It's been a minute. I've been working on my trust course, so that's been taking me a while. And haven't been able to drop as many videos as I'd like to, but I'll get back to more recipes, more science on the art and the science of eating non-traditional intake, put it that way. So today we're going to talk about quinoa. I'm going to show you how to make a quinoa pudding. Now, although this sounds like a snack, this is actually a good meal because what I do is I add protein to it. As you know, if you follow any of my videos, I don't eat a lot of meat, maybe once a week, if that. So I fortify a lot of my meals with protein, either a plant protein, sometimes egg protein. I know some people don't do dairy, so with this particular recipe I've substituted what I usually use, which is egg protein, for plant protein. And I do that sometimes as well for myself, just to get a taste of how the plant protein differs from the egg protein. And I found out that the egg protein mixes a lot smoother. If anyone takes plant protein, you know that it has kind of a gritty taste. It's a little more difficult to dissolve in most mixtures. You know, if you dress it up with strawberries, ice, and you blend it well, you know, a few other things, you can get it to smooth out. And so I thought, well, let me try the diversity in the quinoa and see what the difference is. And actually in the quinoa, the plant protein does not provide any grittiness. So if you want to try plant protein versus egg protein, you can do that. Quinoa takes a lot of diversity in order to continue eating it. It's a very good food, but because it's bland and it has a tendency to wear itself out, a lot of people don't eat it. It is considered a superfood. It's high in protein. It's high in carbs also. When I'm not doing keto, quinoa is one of my favorite, but I don't eat it all the time. But you can eat it frequently if you dress it up in a lot of different ways. A lot of different ways are strictly meal-based, but I kind of cheated and went with a meal snack. All right, but with the way I fix it, it's not a high sugar content at all. It's only 1 tablespoon of sugar. I use 1 tablespoon of unprocessed sugar, 1 tablespoon of stevia. Okay, 1 banana. So that is the extent of the sweetness. Still very healthy. Still something you can eat twice a day, in moderation, of course. And if you're carb conscious, you know, do it around your workout. Okay, this particular mix yields about, with the protein, 15 grams of protein per 8-ounce serving. All right, so we'll go ahead and jump right into it. Okay, so the ingredients that we're going to need is your saucepan with 1.5 cups of water. You're going to need 1/4 cup or 28 grams of bland, either plant protein or egg protein. Egg protein is best because it's smoother. It mixes in smoother with the mix. But some people don't like dairy products, so you can use also the plant protein. But it has to be bland, unflavored. Okay? You'll need 1 banana. Now this banana looks a little raunchy because it's thawed out, so forgive the appearance. You'll need a tablespoon of butter. You'll need pure vanilla extract, 2 cups of milk. Now, if you go with dairy, you can use regular milk. I use almond milk. You'll need 2 tablespoons of unprocessed sugar, or in this case, I have 1 tablespoon of unprocessed sugar, 1 tablespoon of stevia. I always half and half because I'm carb conscious. My sweets with stevia. And of course, you'll need your quinoa. Now, the recipe calls, as I said, 1.5 cups of water, and you would add that with 3/4 a cup of dry quinoa, okay? And then you would bring that to a boil. Your 3/4 cups of quinoa and your 1.5 cups of water will yield approximately 2 cups of quinoa, okay? A little bit more, actually, and this is what it yielded me. Okay, so this is cooked quinoa, and again, you would start with your dry quinoa, 3/4 cup, and you would boil that with one half cup of water, a little bit of salt, of course. All right, then you would rinse and drain the quinoa, and this is what you will come up with your dry quinoa mix. Okay, so now you would mix together your banana, sugar, your protein, and your milk. You can use a food processor. I use a blender. All right, so this is what's going to be your vanilla flavoring, basically. Just blend that until smooth, very liquidy. Then you're going to, of course, take your quinoa. Going to take your saucepan. All right. Make sure your quinoa is very, very dry. If you have to let it sit for an hour or so, that's fine. But you want to make sure that there's no water that that goes to the bottom. Going to pour your quinoa in your saucepan. Going to pour in your mix. Okay, once we're done stirring our mix, now we're going to place it on the stove. Okay, now we're going to put our fire pretty much on a medium heat. We're just going to let it cook for about 10 minutes. And you're going to constantly stir it. Once about every minute. Now, one thing you don't want to do is what I did with this mix was I actually put it in the refrigerator after it evaporated, and that kind of made it clumpy. You don't want to do that. Now, as it heats up, it's going to loosen up, but you know, just for consistency's sake, you don't want to put it in the refrigerator for any amount of time. Once your mix is done, about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, you can see that the consistency is really smooth and creamy, almost like oatmeal. Okay, all right. So you take it off the heat, and as my fellow culinaries know, you then add your half a teaspoon of vanilla. I would say a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon. I like vanilla extract, I like the flavor. So I add almost a full teaspoon. You can do half. Your butter. And as I was saying, the culinarists know that you do this after you take it off the heat so that the vanilla flavoring doesn't get cooked out and that the butter has more effect as well. But these ingredients are cook sensitive. So you stir in your vanilla and your butter. Just as quinoa becomes thicker when you let it sit with water, it will become thicker from this mix as well, from the milk and the other ingredients once they soak in as it cools. And here is our final mix. Just as I said before, it will fully absorb that mixture, the liquid mixture. All right, bringing you back to the consistency of your typical quinoa recipe or your typical quinoa consistency. And I am going to enjoy some of this right now. See you next time, fam.